BlackBerry once reigned as the king of smartphones, selling more than 50 million units at its peak. The company started out creating pagers and handsets, but the first iteration of its smartphone, complete with an iconic keyboard, took shape in the early 2000s.
In the early 2000s, there was one device that defined power, success, and status. It wasn't from Apple, Samsung, or Google. It was BlackBerry. Business executives, politicians, and celebrities all carried the same device with a distinctive physical keyboard and that signature red notification light. For a brief moment in time, BlackBerry ruled the smartphone world so completely that people called it the Crackberry because users couldn't put it down. Two engineering students from Canada started this empire in 1984. Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fregan founded a company called Research in Motion in Waterloo, working on wireless technology projects. They took on random contracts for companies like General Motors and IBM, building LED systems and local networks just to keep the lights on. But in 1989, everything changed when Canadian phone company Rogers hired them to work on mobile text networks specifically designed for messaging. This partnership gave Research in Motion the expertise they desperately needed. By 1999, they launched the BlackBerry 850 pager, one of the first devices with a full keyboard. It combined wireless email with mobile communication, a groundbreaking concept that professionals had been dreaming about. The device was revolutionary because it offered push email, meaning messages arrived instantly without users having to refresh their inbox manually. For the first time, busy executives could stay connected to their office from anywhere. The early 2000s belonged entirely to BlackBerry. The company introduced its first smartphone, the BlackBerry 5810, in 2002, marking the true beginning of the smartphone era. These devices featured color screens, full keyboards, support for voice calling, email, and internet browsing. Business professionals abandoned their old Nokia phones and Palm Pilots in droves. The long battery life made BlackBerry devices perfect for people constantly on the move. Between 2002 and 2008, BlackBerry experienced its golden era, with stock prices soaring as these devices became essential tools for professionals worldwide. At its absolute peak in September 2011, BlackBerry had 85 million subscribers globally. The company controlled over 50% of the United States smartphone market and 20% of the global market. They sold over 50 million devices annually. The stock price hit a historic high of $147 in 2008. Politicians debated policy on their BlackBerries. Corporate leaders managed billion-dollar companies from these devices. The brand became so synonymous with mobile business communication that owning one was almost mandatory in certain industries. But BlackBerry's dominance wasn't just about hardware and email. In 2005, they launched something that would change mobile communication forever. BlackBerry Messenger, better known as simply BBM, combined instant messaging with the security and reliability BlackBerry was famous for. Unlike text messages that cost 5 to 10 cents each, BBM was completely free and included in every BlackBerry data plan. Users could send unlimited messages, share pictures and files, create group chats, and see when messages were delivered and read. By 2011, BBM had over 60 million users who were sending hundreds of messages daily instead of the few hundred texts per month that regular phone users managed. BBM became a cultural phenomenon. The distinctive ping notification sound became instantly recognizable. College students organized their social lives through BBM groups. Business executives coordinated deals through encrypted conversations. The app was so popular that terms like Crackberry and BlackBerry Thumb entered everyday vocabulary. The exclusivity of BBM, available only on BlackBerry devices until 2013, created an elite club that actually drove hardware sales. If you wanted to join the conversation, you needed a BlackBerry. Then came January 9th, 2007. At the Macworld conference in San Francisco, Steve Jobs took the stage and announced a device that would change everything. He called it an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator all in one. The iPhone featured a revolutionary multi-touch screen, no physical keyboard, and a completely different vision for what a phone could be. When Mike Lazaridis, BlackBerry's founder, watched the announcement, he reportedly dismissed it as impossible, claiming the networks couldn't handle such a device. He was partially right. The early iPhone had problems and even faced lawsuits for connectivity issues. But Jobs understood something BlackBerry didn't. Consumers didn't want better email devices. They wanted pocket computers that could do everything. When the iPhone officially launched on June 29, 2007, thousands of people lined up outside Apple stores. Critics questioned the high price of $499 to $599, especially for a phone missing features like 3G connectivity. But the market answered definitively. The iPhone sold 1 million units in just 74 days. By the end of 2007, nearly 2 million iPhones had been sold. BlackBerry's response revealed a fatal misunderstanding of the changing market. Company leadership initially dismissed the iPhone as a toy for younger consumers, not a threat to their enterprise business. They believed professionals would always prefer physical keyboards for efficient typing. When they finally did respond in 2008 with the BlackBerry Storm, their first full touchscreen device, the execution was disastrous. The Storm suffered from poor performance, unresponsive screens, and terrible reviews. It was a rushed attempt to compete rather than a thoughtful innovation. The company then tried combining touchscreens with keyboards in devices like the BlackBerry Bold, which temporarily slowed their decline. But this hybrid approach missed the point entirely. The market was moving toward larger screens and touch interfaces. BlackBerry's insistence on including keyboards meant smaller displays, just as consumers were discovering they could watch videos, play games, and browse websites on their phones. The typical BlackBerry phone looked virtually identical to models from 5 years earlier, while Apple continuously iterated with new features and sleek designs. BlackBerry made another critical mistake by focusing on the wrong customers. While Apple and Google created user-friendly interfaces and attractive app ecosystems for everyday consumers, BlackBerry remained obsessed with enterprise clients and their security requirements. This was a textbook case of the innovator's dilemma. BlackBerry catered to the customers who generated their current revenue and profits, while completely neglecting the market that would ultimately matter most. When companies adopted bring-your-own-device policies, employees immediately started replacing their work BlackBerries with personal iPhones and Android phones. The company fundamentally misunderstood what made smartphones valuable. BlackBerry innovated around feature improvements like faster email and better security. They missed that smartphones were becoming platforms for personal productivity and entertainment. While Apple and Google built massive third-party app ecosystems, BlackBerry insisted on developing everything themselves, making their devices far less capable. Even their most popular feature, BBM, was leveraged poorly. By keeping BBM exclusive to BlackBerry devices instead of expanding to other platforms early, they missed the opportunity that apps like WhatsApp eventually seized. When BBM finally launched on Android and iOS in October 2013, the messaging wars had already moved on. The numbers tell the devastating story. BlackBerry's market share collapsed from over 50% of the United States market in 2009 to just 3% by 2014. In Indonesia, where they once controlled 43% of the market in 2011, their share fell to 3% by 2014. Globally, their subscriber base plummeted from 85 million in September 2011 to just 23 million by March 2016, a decline of almost 3/4 in less than 5 years. By late 2016, BlackBerry effectively surrendered. The company announced it would stop manufacturing phones entirely, instead licensing its brand to other companies. They moved their final devices to Android, abandoning their proprietary operating system. In January 2022, BlackBerry shut down all legacy services including email, BlackBerry Messenger, and their App Store. The iconic devices that once symbolized power and prestige were officially dead. The transformation was complete, but not the end. BlackBerry pivoted entirely to software and cybersecurity, leveraging the security expertise that made them famous. Today, the company provides enterprise software solutions, secure communication platforms, and automotive software for connected and autonomous vehicles. They're profitable again, but in a completely different business. The brand that once defined mobile communication now operates entirely behind the scenes. BlackBerry's fall stands as one of the most dramatic collapses in technology history. They went from controlling half the United States smartphone market to zero in less than a decade. The company that pioneered mobile email, created push notifications, and invented features like read receipts and group messaging that we use daily couldn't adapt when the market shifted. Their story isn't just about losing to Apple. It's about misreading consumer desires, clinging to past success, and failing to evolve when everything changed. The keyboard that made them famous became the anchor that sank them.